Hello, welcome. This presentation was created by the graduate students of the CSM 564 class, and on behalf of the Institute for Interactive Technology and the graduate students in the Interactive Technology specialization. Now, the goal of this podcast is to provide for you an overview of how corporations can use Facebook as a training model and also a developmental model. We will look at some specific resources written in a scholarly journal. And this journal, for example, is written by Patricia Sweeney. And the article was called Developing Leaders in the Facebook Age. And it was found in the Chief Learning Officer, and it's on page 18 through 21. It was published in 2013. Now, to begin, it's estimated that United States firms spend about $156 billion a year on employee professional growth. And through those estimates, they say nearly 90% of those could actually be lost. Those skills could be lost within 1 year if they're not used on essentially a daily basis. So what we need to look at is ways that not only can we enhance or develop our employees, but how can we make these individuals into leaders so that they are a little more beneficial for each one of the companies that they work for. Now, to begin, let's also look at the assumption that every time an employee who maybe is lacking in a skill or is unskilled goes through a corporate training program, that when they come out, they're necessarily going to have all the skills that are desired for that specific task. Now, that's not always the case. There needs to be a level of development. There also needs to be a way to assess and manage the employee's process. But the assessment tools have to be developed by the corporation and prove to be an effective gauge for how you actually measure success. In today's world, this digitally driven world, we have many people who become leaders by going through these corporate training processes. And through the use of Facebook, there is also other ways to connect corporate training to other social media sites, such as Twitter and LinkedIn are probably the two most common today. Another benefit of using Facebook to go through a corporate training process is the fact that there are millions of people that use a social media site, so they're comfortable with the technology. It's a very cost-effective way for companies to go through a training process, a module. It doesn't always have to take place in the classroom. You could have corporate training happening overseas across broad spectrums, and it's something that people could even do in the comfort of their own home, where they could log into the Facebook page or a social media site, and they could actually go through this corporate training module. Now, the other thing is with the use of this is that business leaders and professionals will actually work closely with their employees. You could have certain blogs or chat groups on their Facebook page to make sure that the employees are going through the process, that they're learning everything that needs be. You start to develop this personalization, or you can have an action plan so that from week to week there are steps and goals that your employee can go through. And then you get a chance to meet some of your higher ranking officials, sometimes potential leaders. Through the use of Facebook, you can actually have blogs and chats, and it's a great way to utilize a resource to bring essentially a company together. Now, the other great feature about this is the fact that through this corporate training module is that you could design an automatic feedback response system. So at the end of a training session, however long that may be, you could actually have an assessment, whether it be a formative or a summative assessment, that the employee will go through and log into, and then complete maybe a set of questions and or maybe complete a certain objective. And management will actually get those results in an immediate feedback, and then from that point on there could be a determination whether or not there needs to be a level of enrichment or we need a little bit of remediation. Maybe there are some things that we need to go back and revisit and look at once again. With this article, the very interesting part that I found was the fact that not only can we use Facebook just as a training module for corporate training, but that there are ways that it can actually provide leadership and some possible challenges within leadership that corporations need to look at. For example, going through the process, companies need to look at what actually makes an effective leader. And so when you go through the specific steps and the training, what do we want our employees to gain from this training module? And then you can establish a leadership platform, meaning what are the building blocks that are going to be essential for this individual, this employee, to be successful at the completion of this program. And then you want to set goals. When we have certain goals along the way, again, you can have formative or summative assessments at the end of each subsection, each module that the employee will go through and complete. And then you're making sure that that specific employee is on target. That's a great way to, when we visited the previous part of this podcast where we looked at companies needing to have a good value or a good way to assess how an employee is doing. Setting these goals, whether it be short or long term, are going to be a good way to do that. And then finally, we need to determine which communication skills need to be honed. And through the developmental process, there could either be some enrichment or remediation practices that need to take place, because let's face it, every time we go through, whether it's school or some form of corporate training, there are going to be some concepts that we will master, and there's going to be some that we need a little more help with, that we need a little more practice with. So through the use of Facebook can be used again in a very confidential or comfortable environment that doesn't always have to be in the middle of a classroom. At times your employees could be a little more effective, knowing that they have a little personalization, and they can go through the module. So we've established the fact that Facebook, again, can be a very valuable tool in a broad spectrum of ways, and more specifically here with going through a training process. Please look for some additional ways. There are other articles that I have found that you can look through that will look into a little more in-depth area of why Facebook can be used and the benefits. And then also there's a few articles looking at some of the criticisms and then some of the explanations for that. Again, this presentation was created by the students in the CSM 564 program. We thank you very much for your time. And on behalf of the Institute for Interactive Technology and the graduate students in the Interactive Technology Specialization, have a great day.